So who's our guest today? Your name is Chris. Do you have a last name, Chris?
I do. I'm Chris McCune.
McCune. Let me see. McQuein.
No. MCCUNE.
Got it.
The traditional would be MCKEWEN.
So where's that from? Is it Irish?
It's both Irish and Scotch. There's
I got a little bit of that.
Both sides of the water on it.
Yeah. So you're in business, yes?
I am in business. I own and operate McCune's Martial Arts. And,
Okay.
I coach and train people in anything from MMA, Muay Thai, real world combatives, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
I've seen some of that stuff. I've seen these guys busting baseball bats with their shins. They're crazy.
Oh yeah, breaking it with shins. That's a great point. There's some of the ankle locks. I've seen them breaking 3 or 4 baseball bats at a time to show that they can break somebody's ankle that way.
So what got you interested in martial arts?
I think I've always had an interest in it, but I had a story where I ran into the school bully.
Okay.
And he was a couple years older than I was. The junior high, senior high were connected at the time. And we were in a common area, and I dropped my comb. And there's this foot standing on my comb. We're the only 2 people in this common area. And so fight was on, right? We're duking it out. The kid had long hair. I had a hold of his hair, and it was going fairly well in my direction. I had fights with kids my age and my size, but this kid was, you've been around, and he was motivated for some reason. I was a good enough kid that once I had him and he said, no, okay, we're good. All right. So I let go of his hair, punched me right in the nose, fractured my nose, dropped me like a sack of wet potatoes, right? I splat the ground with my face right next to the comb that was in question in the first place. And he fortunately didn't trounce on me any further than that and went about his business. Apparently, his goal of the day was to get into as many fights as he could.
Got it.
Before he got booted out. And his final move was to rupture the principal's spleen later in that day.
He went right to the top.
Yeah, he went right to the top of that. Now, I don't remember who that kid was, right? I don't remember his name. I don't know where he is or anything like that.
And you might be training him.
It is possible, actually. But the bully set me on that path. I knew I had a piece of him,
Okay.
and I was just thinking very pragmatically that had I known a little bit more, been a little bit wiser, smarter about this, and trained a little bit, that I would always have a say. And I was always very pragmatic, and it was never about going to return fire and kick his ass. Like I said, I don't even know who he is. So.
Where's your, what do you call it? A studio,
Yeah.
dojo, gym?
All of those things.
Oh, yeah?
Actually, right?
Okay.
Just
Where is it?
Our gym's up in Brooklyn Park.
Okay.
169 85th, about a block north of the Fleet Farm that's up there.
So do you know Marty Lindquist?
Marty Lindquist. No, that one doesn't ring.
He's a boxing guy. More martial arts. Not so MMA, more boxing.
Yeah.
How about Bill Miller?
Bill Miller.
Professional Karate Studios.
Okay, that one I know a little bit better.
Yeah.
Right. At least by name of the gyms.
Yeah. Or there's another one, Mark Lowry.
No. Man, you're not rattled off names.
Well, I started
That's
martial arts
beautiful.
in 1975.
Did
So
you?
how about Brad Kohler?
The Brad Kohler I know quite well.
There you go.
Brad Kohler's a dear friend of mine.
Okay.
Running for governor now.
I was impressed. I was going to one of their events in Minneapolis, and Minneapolis found out they were doing it and said, you can't do that in this city.
Mhm.
And they moved it to St. Paul same night.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And they pulled it off.
Well, we've had fights in Minneapolis. Minneapolis, the city proper, is actually rather difficult to get fights in. It's just there's just the amount of fees they out there, the structure that they put on it. So it's very rare that we have them. We had one fight at First Avenue, which was fantastic. It was a fantastic venue for it, and a couple at Epic, which was also downtown. But then after that, everything is outside of Minneapolis proper.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of times they go to the Dakotas or Iowa or someplace else,
Yeah.
suburbs and things.
Yeah, and they'll do like a lot of the casinos here. There's the great venues as well. One of our favorite venues was the Myth over in White Bear Lake.
Yep, I used to go there.
That was a fantastic. We love that venue, but there haven't been fights there in
I used to go there. I had my little spot between the railing and the garbage can where nobody had bothered me looking down on the ring.
You have been there then. That's awesome. That's awesome.
So what do you do to, what do you consider your customer, and how is it that you serve them? How do they benefit from?
It's interesting. We have such a broad clientele. I focus primarily on adults. We have a small kids team, but it's primarily adults, and our focus is it's really training to develop a self-confidence that carries itself over into your everyday life. Right. The more confident you are, actually, the less conflicts that you run into, and the conflicts you do have are solved in a much more calm and administerial manner, as opposed to actual physical confrontation. And I think a layman thinks that, especially with the MMA fighters, they get into more fights and they're just fight people. No, actually, no, it's just the opposite. The more they train, the less they fight outside.
I started in 1975, and I've actually not really been in a fight other than a scuffle kind of thing once at a bar, because you can always back out, but it got the capability. So, so it's kind of that thing. You're probably inspired by that because of that long hair, and you decided, hey, maybe keep your hands up, protect yourself at all times, because you never know when something might happen.
You're right.
You get to learn a little bit. Yeah. So what is it that, if you got something that really inspires other people to maybe participate in this, because initially you think, oh, I don't want to get hit, and you don't have to get hit with the whole Brazilian jiu-jitsu thing. It's a different story where you...
I think the toughest thing to overcome, and this happens all the time, is I bump into people, have conversations with people, they find out what I'm doing, and they say these words like, hey, I've always wanted to do that, but I've never, they don't have an in, or are not comfortable and don't know what to expect, because their internal mind says I'm going to get beat up or all this, or just which is not the case at all, right? So I love being able to get FaceTime with people, because I can invite anybody in and onboard anybody. My oldest student right now, he's 70 plus years old, 72, and he trains on a regular basis. And if he can do it, we can all do it. And it's got great longevity. And then we got the young bucks too, that if they want to do, and I'd encourage this to do tournaments or train and fight early when you can, while you can, at least say that you got in there and did that. But the inspirational part sometimes is there's young athletes who come in who have natural talent, natural drive. They've probably been in a bunch of tussles already, so they're already pretty tough, right? But it's just the average person off the street that is more intriguing to me, because frankly, on the world of self-defense and confidence, they need it more, right? These young kids don't necessarily need it more unless they're trying to be a little more professional in their career with it, right?
Is there something that you, like a trigger point that all of a sudden it feels like they're inspired? Because someone that's in it and wants to do it, whereas someone kind of wants to do it, but they're kind of scared. Is there like a point that kind of tips it over?
Realizing they're coming into a welcoming, safe environment is step number one, right?
They feel safe and not
because they're not to get hurt, broken, right? So
it is kind of scary walking into a gym and seeing these guys all sweaty and
100%.
angry and tattooed up, and they're not really angry. I mean, like you take someone like Mike Tyson, it seemed like he was really angry, but then when he knocks someone out, he actually feels kind of bad for him. But his goal was to get in there and get it done. And once it's done, okay, let's be friends now.
Yeah. Once they're in training for a little while, then the inspiration really starts to kick up, because they see, oh yeah, they can do it, and oh, there's a lot to this, and how much fun we can have doing it. Right. It's mentally stimulating as well as, a physical workout. So I convert actually a lot of people that are just doing a regular gym, like an LA Fitness or a Lifetime Fitness. And we've got weights at our gym as well too, so you can come with those. But the instructional, the mental stimulation of learning new technique and figuring out this puzzle, right, and moving in a different manner, right? Keeps the mind involved as well too.
You find different things that I didn't realize this was going to benefit my life. Like I had a situation where I had a car that didn't run good, and I was working at this place. It was winter, so I had to run out at lunch to get my car started and warmed up so it would work. And then I was running back into the building, and as I was running, there's this big white Cadillac coming, and I didn't see it. And it's like slow motion kind of thing. And I thought, I'm not going to be able to stop, or am I going to outrun it? I have to jump up. So in that short period of time, I was able to jump up and get out of the way of the car, and it hit me on the leg instead of the hip. So I think martial arts saved my life, and it had nothing to do with being in a fight.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, we get that with like break falls as well too. Because in the jiu-jitsu or in the MMA, we're doing takedowns as well too. So how do you fall safely?
Yeah, if you're going to fall down, better fall.
Well,
don't break your arm.
Exactly, 100%. And with the ice and snow that we have out here, and everybody wants to plant their hands and fall weird. And certainly as my mom used to work at a nursing home. She's a nursing home administrator for years. Falls and broken hips for the elderly are a big thing.
Sure.
So if we're proactively learning how to fall properly, if we do fall,
if grandma knows how to roll.
Well, yeah, it does. It really does carry on even that far. So you help protect yourself as you hit the ground. So absolutely. I think a lot of these guys learn in the martial arts, not only the confidence side, but it's also an environment that tests truth. Right, you can't hide from the truth of whether a technique works or not.
That's what I admire about, like, some people think, you like that violence? It's like, these guys know what they're getting into. So they're both on the same page, and they're both willing to do it.
Yep.
So,
and they have a lot of fun. Yeah, they have a lot of fun doing it as well too. It's kind of interesting. So if I bring somebody who's nervous and sees these young MMA guys going at it, and they're worried about how hard that is, and they know they couldn't keep up with that pace right now, it's kind of funny. I look at them and I say, do you know what the hardest part of that is? It's not what they're doing right now. The hardest part is when they try to stay on their diet. You can ask any one of them, and I'll just randomly call one of my guys. What's the hardest part about your training? I go, staying on diet, coach. Like, right? So that's a surprise to most people. You'd think the workout was the hard part. No, that's the fun reward part. The hard part is trying to stay consistent with your training, and then also with whatever your diet and meal plan is for that.
And it's a long-term game. You're not going to just learn martial arts and go protect yourself.
Yeah, well, exactly.
It takes some time to understand it.
It's a whole body thing and a movement thing. So, yeah.
So is there anything you want to share that might inspire someone to want to become a customer? Maybe they're listening or watching this podcast and thinking, I've always thought about that, and maybe I should learn something. What do you think might push them over the edge?
I got to be honest with you. It's really, you step in there, you're going to gain just the confidence of that you have an answer to some of the problems that you might run into. Somebody comes charging at you from across the way, that if it's a self-defense situation, you have some skills that you can bring to bear. And just that alone, even if you're not professional at it yet, just beginning at it, is at least you have some solutions to self-defense situations that might pop up. And honestly, I think that's been, for the beginners, that's been the biggest immediate boost. If for the ladies on the self-defense side, somebody grabs you by the neck, they have answers that work, even with guys against guys that are much bigger than they are. And that assurity and that confidence really goes a long ways, right? And that's just getting in the door, and that happens fairly early on.
So if someone's in the area or even out of the area and wants to train with you, how do they get a hold of you?
Oh, thank you very much for asking. McCunesMA.com is the best way to do that. All right. Look us up online.
Perfect. I think we're about done.
Excellent. Well, thank you, sir. That was good stuff.
Hey, it's Will with the Podcast Crew team. Spotlight is a vidcast shot at the Podcast Crew Studios in Minneapolis. We would love for you to be our guest. Email us at the email address on your screen below to get a copy of the upcoming schedule. It's free, it's easy, and it's a great way to try out a podcast or a vidcast with our pro team. We do an in-person, in-studio version if you're in the Twin Cities area, and also an online version if you're somewhere else. We'd love to have you. hear your story, and help you start your podcast journey. Thanks. Get in touch today.